Who says high-end phones have to be expensive? What's going on, guys? I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com, and yet may not have all the specifications of the Samsung Galaxy S2 or the HTC Amaze 4G on T-Mobile, but the Samsung Galaxy S Blaze 4G is a pretty reasonably equipped smartphone that comes in at a pretty good price as well. $150 as opposed to $200 or $250 for some of the other high-end devices on the market. This thing is packing a 1.5 gigahertz dual-core Snapdragon processor. It's got a 3.97-inch Super AMOLED display, so not quite 4 inches, but pretty close. A 5-megapixel camera on the back with 720p HD video recording, and Android 2.3 with TouchWiz version 4.0. So if perhaps the Galaxy S2 series is a little bit too expensive for you, the Blaze 4G is an awesome smartphone that fits pretty well in the hand as well. Now, is this the ultimate phone to get? Should you get this on T-Mobile? Or, if you're looking at a bunch of carriers, is this the ultimate kind of low high-end, high mid-range phone to have? We'll find out in the full review, but first, some love to Best Buy Mobile for hooking us up with phones like this for use in our One Paw Bandit game. When you go into Best Buy Mobile, you'll walk out working. They'll help you set up your email, your web, your display settings, your camera settings, and more. So when you walk out the door, you're set up, you're good to go. You don't have to waste any time doing that, thanks to Best Buy Mobile. Let's take a look. Blaze 4G. Off into speed test. Let's take a look first of all at the network capabilities of this device. Now the Blaze 4G supports 42 megabits per second on T-Mobile's HSPA Plus network. Now, like I said in part one, you're never going to really see 42 megabits per second. That's a theoretical peak. You know, I've seen speeds in the Charlotte metro area between about 2 megabits per second and max at about 10 megabits per second, though I've heard some markets are faster. You know, I'd say 10 to 20 megabits per second and max. You won't see 42 as of right now, but it does support HSPA Plus 42 if you're in the market and you're considering, you know, perhaps between HSPA Plus 21 and HSPA Plus 42. So let's take a look here and begin the test and see what we can come up with on the Charlotte speed test server, and we'll take a look. So should be pretty decent. While we'll do that, I'll talk about battery life a little bit. You know, I did test this device out for a couple of days, and battery life seemed to be pretty moderate with moderate to, I wouldn't say heavy use, but high moderate use, text messaging, emailing, calling, doing some call tests, of course. Doing some web browsing, downloading apps. I was able to make it from about 8 o'clock in the morning when I pulled it off the charger at home, had it in the office, played around with it, got to about, I'd say about 9 or 10 at night. So I think with moderate use, you're going to be happy with this. I've had no problem charging with this device either. You know, you look at some Samsung devices in the past, and you see that they've historically had issues with charging. It's taken a long time to charge. Much like the Skyrocket and some of the more recent Samsung devices, it's been a pretty fast charger. But I would still recommend carrying around, you know, a spare car charger. If you're in that area, you know, you're a heavy user, perhaps you're going around day to day from meeting to meeting, and you live off the 15-minute charge, carry around a spare car charger, carry around a charger for the office, something like that. But you can see the speed test here, about 2.5 megabits per second. We're still kind of in rush hour, but that's really been what I've been seeing around the Charlotte metro area, 2 to 5. And then in the peak T-Mobile areas where I know the service is just perfect, I'm seeing speeds between 8 and 10 megabits per second. Upload, not so good. 0.5 to 1 megabits per second on T-Mobile's network, that you're still seeing that little 4G indicator up top. So we'll go ahead and bounce out of that and take a look at Quadrant Standard. Now, Quadrant Standard has actually been updated to support dual-core processing, so we'll run the full benchmark and take a look. I took this thing to T-Mobile Dead Spot. I've been relatively pleased with the call quality on this device. You can hear my chair squeaking as I'm moving around, but been relatively pleased with the call quality on this device. The earpiece is nice and loud. Calls sound good. I took this to T-Mobile Dead Spot in South Charlotte, and despite, you know, it being a little bit choppy, having some choppiness, I was able to maintain the call. And I got to the point where I thought I was going to drop the call. It was choppy to the point it had this like long kind of pause, and I'm like, hello, 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 and then all of a sudden it came back. So that's a good sign. Earpiece is nice and loud. I think for a lot of people with the desire a loud earpiece or desire a loud speakerphone, they should be relatively happy with this device. But really the thing for me about this device is the price point. I mean, $150 you can't beat for a device like this. It's relatively equipped with some relatively nice features. You know, dual-core processor. The screen is beautiful. Super AMOLED display. That's 3.97 inches. So just under 4 inches, but still great for a lot of people. That said, somebody like me that has kind of long fingers or kind of big thumbs may have a hard time typing on this device, even though, yeah, the iPhone is at 3.5 inches. You know, as opposed to some of the others that are at 4.5. I kind of lost my train of thought there. Sorry about that. 3.5 inches. I'm honest with you guys. You know, I lost the train of thought. 3.97 inches on this bad boy may be a little bit too small for a lot of people, particularly if you're coming from something like the Titan or, you know, the Galaxy Nexus or something with one of those big displays. So let's see. Our device, 3,604. It's hard to read with that Choco Cookie font, but 3,604 on Quadrant Standard. Take it with a grain of salt. Of course, these are never indicative of day-to-day performance, but still pretty reasonable for what I would consider to be either a high mid-range device or a low high-end device. Let's take a look at camera as well, in case you didn't catch it in part 1. 5 megapixel camera, 720p HD video recording capabilities on this device, and we'll load up the camera right now. Now, no physical camera button, and you've got Samsung's typical layout here with the camera, the ability to switch around to the front, the ability to turn flash on and off, and you've got your typical settings over here. Single shot, ISO, white balance, timer, things like that you can change around. And of course, you can press to hold to zoom, or to focus rather, and then you can take the picture. So we'll come in, we'll focus on, let's find something cool to take a picture of. How about the HTC Evo, actually how about the Galaxy S2 box, which I just so happen to have over here. So we'll load this up. Press and hold, you can see it's focusing in on the picture right now. Let go to take a picture, and you can see it's a nice, clear, good-looking picture. So even though it's a 5 megapixel camera, and I found, honestly, that when I was outside taking pictures in natural light, you really couldn't tell a whole lot of difference between the 5 and 8 megapixel options on some of the really high-end devices. That said, you can kind of see some pixelation there on the, as you zoom in on the 5 megapixel picture, but still, with natural light, you should be more than fine. So I think with a lot, for people that are really interested in taking pictures, that's something that matters a lot to them. Pictures are kind of the first reason you go for a phone. Take a look at some of these other devices that are coming out. The One X that's coming out, we had some hands-on time with at Mobile World Congress. The iPhone 4S is known to have a great camera, and then of course the PureView 808, which was also announced by Nokia at Mobile World Congress. Those are going to be some big camera devices, so that's important to you. But I think for this, it's kind of a nice high-end, low high-end device with a budget price point, and that's something to keep in mind, the target demographic that this device is going for. So that's pretty impressive as well. Speed tests are pretty reasonable. So let's take a look, of course, at Samsung's thing here, the Media Hub capabilities of this device. So we need a Samsung account app to run. Yeah, why not? We'll do that. Install. Okay, let's go ahead and install the unknown sources. Third-party application. We'll install it. Samsung account. And then we'll go from there. So Media Hub's loading up right now. I just want to show you the interface because it looks like some things have changed in Samsung's Media Hub interface. It's loading up right now, kind of taking its sweet time as well. And this is the kind of thing where I'm like, it's rush hour, but it should be loading up a little bit faster for HSPA Plus 42. So yeah, I agree to that. And we'll take a look here. So you can see what's new, and of course it's not loaded yet, but it's like a carousel type form factor where I can scroll through and see American Dad. And let's go back and click on that. And see TV shows. I can buy it on the, put it on the SD card. Episode details, which apparently is episode 14. Stan's Best Friends. I'm not an American Dad fan, but if you like it, Stan's Best Friends available for download. It shows the size and the runtime, and of course I can buy it and download it to the SD card. So that's pretty nice to have a media store, and of course I think Google Play's done a really good job with this. And while we're talking about Google Play, let's go ahead and go into it. Play Store has done a decent job with this, formerly known as Android Market, with kind of combining music, apps, books, and movies together. But if you want a secondary option, perhaps you have Amazon on there and you want a secondary option for movies, things like that, instead of Google Play, you can go over there and take a look at Samsung Media Hub. So, but if you're looking at Google Play, it does have some options in here as well. So top rentals, new releases, and you can come in here, rent a movie, Tower Heist, for example. And you can see that they've kind of combined this together, and now they're calling it Google Play as opposed to Android Market because it's supposed to represent kind of a synchronization of the brands between apps, music, books, and movies. So same thing with apps here, and I'm sure Draw Something has got to be the top app. Yep, Draw Something is the top app for a lot of people. This is a big popular game, so Draw Something is available, and this is what the interface looks like. Scroll down through here and you can see what's new, reviews, of course, screenshots, and then the description of the game, and all you have to do is click right there, and then hit accept and buy, and you can move from there, so along with the storage stuff. So it's a pretty equipped device, and all in all, I've been really impressed with this device. I think for the price point, you really can't beat it. If you're somebody that's coming in, I actually recommended this device to a friend of mine the other day because they came to me and they were like, I don't want to spend $250 on a phone, but I still want a phone that has good features. I don't feel like I should sacrifice features for dollars. I should be able to spend, $100, $150 and get a decently equipped smartphone. I think for those people, the Blaze 4G is going to be a good option. Even though it's not technically a Galaxy S2 device, it carries on in the Galaxy S2 footprint by offering TouchWiz 4.0, by offering a dual-core processor, a Super AMOLED display, even though it's not Plus, a Super AMOLED display, and a pretty reasonable 5 megapixel camera. So it's a good device. It's got a lot of features. I've been really impressed with it. Haven't had any major issues. No lag, no shutdowns, nothing like that. Out of Android, and you know me, I'll criticize Android for being kind of laggy from time to time. This one doesn't have any problems on that front. Much more coverage to come on PhoneDog.com. Check out our rankings program, PhoneDog.com/rankings. And be sure to follow me on Twitter, PhoneDog_Aaron, and on Facebook at Facebook.com/PhoneDogAB. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, we'll see you next time.